Hey guys, Keith here again. Toying with a couple of different ideas, topics to talk about tonight, both pertaining to my wife that passed away. So I'm going to talk about this one, I guess, tonight, about losing friends. When I lost her, I lost our friends too. It's like there was two deaths that happened, and y'all let me know in the comments below if you felt this. And I can't speak for people who've lost their parents if it works that way, or not, or lost a child or lost someone else. But for me, in my experience, losing a spouse, when I lost her, I lost a lot of friends. Now I'm not saying they would like if they saw me on the street they wouldn't say anything to me. I'm not saying they would just ignore me completely, but most of them I have not heard of or heard from since she passed away, since her funeral. And so it was like there was two deaths. It was like I lost her, and then I lost a lot of friends that we had together. And what's crazy was most of those friends were couples, and so I was usually I was friends with the guy, and we were more we did all the talking. We'd be in one room talking, and my wife and his wife would be in the other room talking. So you know I get that couples don't want to maybe call me. I'll be the third wheel and call me up and hang out and say, hey, you want to come over? Might feel weird to them, and maybe they'd think it would be weird to me. I wouldn't care really, I don't think, but I get that couples want to hang out with other couples, and I'm not a couple anymore. So anyway, I get that a little bit, but it's just been kind of it's been tough, And one of my first videos I did on this channel last year, anyway, I've had the channel for a long time, but when I started just talking about my wife and things like that, and being alone and all, I talked about being over 50 and no friends, and that's the way it feels. And I'm not, there's some people be offended if they saw that and say, I thought I was your friend. I do have some friends. I don't have very many friends, hardly, that I can just call up anytime and say, hey, let's hang out. You know what I mean? And most of these friends that I'm talking about right now that were friends with me and my wife and they were couples, most of them I haven't heard from. I remember one person was contacting me a lot when my wife was sick, and they contacted me, weekly, and after she died, that was it, because they would ask, hey, how are you doing? How's she doing? And then after she was gone, there was no more contact. I get they can't do that for the rest of my life. I'm not expecting that. Don't get me wrong, but it was just kind of like that's it. There was no more contact with that person, and then I've just noticed it with people that we were friends with that we used to hang out with, and I've tried to hang out with them. I remember one person contacted me here a while back and said, "Hey, we need to hang out." And I said, "Sounds good." I said, "How about, And I mentioned, I didn't mention a specific day, but I said I'm free all next week. What day? Never heard from him again. And that was, I mean, that's been not quite a year, but it's getting close to a year. And other ones that I've tried to get with, and just get with the guy, not necessarily as a couple, but just hang out with the guy. Call them up. Hey, let's do something. And I've planned dinner, lunch and stuff with some of them, and something will always come up every time, and it's just like, oh my gosh, it's craziness, and it's like dating. Only you're just trying to hang out with a buddy. It's the craziest. It's I don't know if it's worse than dating or not, but it's as bad anyway. It's horrible. And so anyway, I'm just curious if y'all have experienced the two deaths in your life by losing a spouse. And like I say, maybe if you lost a parent, maybe some of your friends that were friends with your parents, and you maybe they quit hanging out with you. I don't know. It may be a little different in that situation, but definitely as a losing a spouse, I've noticed it a lot. And I've lived here 24 years. And I was thinking just before I started this video, I was thinking, I lived in a place from 94 to 97. So just a little over 3 years. I moved there in June. I left there in October of 90. So June of 94, left in October of 97. And I could go back to that town today. And I can't maybe make a guarantee, or I don't know if I'd want to lay money on it, but I'd be confident enough to lay some money down, I think, on this deal, is if I went back to that town, if I moved back to that town this week, that, if I moved there on a Tuesday and got in Tuesday, I feel like Wednesday I could have a lunch date with somebody, with one of my old friends, with my old buddies or something. And men or women. I mean, there's, I've got friends, both. And I really believe that, because I had so many friends there at that time. And in 3 years, I had so many friends. It was ridiculous. I've been here 24 years. We went to, of course, worked with a lot of people. I think we've been to 4 different churches in those 24 years, and I pastored one of those churches. I was a worship leader at 2 of the churches there. And so we knew people, we knew a lot of people, but it's like when you leave that church, you don't take them people, and what I mean is that, they don't, that's it, kind of like, you're not with us anymore. So that's it. And, even if, or if they leave a church, it's kind of, I don't know, it seems like you quit. It almost breaks that bond for some reason. I don't know. It's been weird, but anyway, maybe I'm just not the easiest guy to get along with. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe that's the problem. So I keep blaming on everybody, but because I know I know some people may watch this and go, "Well, you're not a very good friend, though," But maybe you weren't a very good friend, so I wasn't a good friend. I don't know, but well, I'll say this: I had my best friend, one of my best friends, here, and he passed away. Almost a year, or about a year and a month after my wife passed, and he called me. He called me on the anniversary of the 1 year anniversary of my wife's death, and he called and talked to me, and we were just best. We could talk. We had a bromance. I preached his funeral. I preached my wife's funeral in May of 2021. I preached his funeral in June of 2022. And he was my best. He was the first one at my wife's. Him and his wife and family was the first ones at my wife's funeral. He's in a wheelchair. He had diabetes, and he'd lost a leg and lost part of another. I think, and lost another foot, and he didn't have much control of his hand. He couldn't see. He was a young man. I was old enough to be his dad. I mean, he was a young. He was maybe around 40 at the time that he passed, or something like that. But or late 30s. But anyway. We just had this. He would pick on me, and we'd roast each other. We just had so much fun. We could talk, and he loved country music and all that stuff. We just had a lot of things in common. We could talk about Star Wars or whatever. We always had something we could talk about, and I remember him calling me on the anniversary of my wife's death and said, "Hey," he said, "Hey, we need to get together." I said, "Let's do it." He said, "How about next month?" And this was, like I say, this was April. And he said, "Well, let's get together in June." That's what it was, because wait till the kids got out of school. I said, "That sounds good," and we did. But it was at his funeral, unfortunately. And he was sick. Like I say, he wound up taking his life, and unfortunately, but and he was he was a great friend, but and just and of course my wife was my best friend, and so, it's she's been gone 5 years next month. And so, here I am 24 years later living in this place, and I'm just like, man, I don't get it. I'm just, I don't understand, and I've been going to a church here for about 4 years now. And I know some people, but just having somebody to go, hey, let's hang out, let's watch the game. Let's do, I don't have that. But anyway, I don't mean to get on here and complain, or, whatever, sound depressed or anything. I'm not depressed. I'm just confused a little bit, I guess, because I'm like, I don't know what to do, and I've tried some different groups and different things, and I've, I don't know, I just, It's crazy. It's just weird. But the two death thing, I'm just curious if y'all had experienced that as a couple, or as if you lost your spouse, and did all of a sudden the couples you used to hang out with, did they start acting different to you? Did they break off contact? And if I contacted somebody, I'm not saying that they would completely ghost me and not get back to me, but I have reached out to a few of them. Trust me, multiple people trying to hang out, and there's always something comes up, or they just don't get back to me or whatever. And so anyway, maybe they feel awkward. I don't know. I mean, it's weird because like maybe they don't know what to say to me, but it's like just be yourself. You don't have to say anything about. We don't have to talk about my wife. We don't have to talk about the past. Let's just talk about it right now. What's going on with you guys now? But anyway, I don't know what goes on in people's minds about that, and I'm sure they, maybe they have the reasons, I guess. But anyway, could just be me. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a pain in the, what to deal with. I don't know. That's possible. It's very possible. If you, as they say, if you look around and you're always having a problem with somebody, the problem may be right here. You know what I mean? Look in the mirror. There's your problem. And so anyway, so if you could help me find a solution to this problem, I'd appreciate it. You can put that in the comments down below too. But anyway, I hope you're having a great night. If you could give us a thumbs up on this, subscribe to us, and or you've done subscribe. That's what people usually do when I put I think my last video I put out, I lost 2 subscribers. I think the one before that I lose. I may gain a couple, but then I lose 3. It's like two steps forward, 3 steps back. But that's okay. I don't even care. It doesn't even bother me. I'm too busy with other things to be worried about that. But anyway, I hope you're having a great night, and we will see y'all in the next one. Thanks.